prudent due to the declared public health disaster caused by COVID-19. This meeting is being conducted via video conference. We will now have a roll call to establish quorum. Please make sure that you unmute your phone when your name is called, but otherwise you can remain unmuted. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman LaSpada.
Here.
Alderman LaSpada is present. Alderman Hopkins.
Present.
Alderman Hopkins is present. Alderman Dow.
Here.
Alderman Dow is present. Alderman Keene. Alderman Hairston.
Present.
Alderman Hairston is present. Alderman Sawyer.
Here.
Alderman Sawyer is present. Alderman Mitchell.
Present.
Alderman Mitchell is present. Alderman Harris.
Present.
Alderman Harris is present. Alderman Beal.
Yep.
Alderman Beal is present. Alderman Zalewski Garza.
Present.
Alderman Zalewski Garza is present. Alderman Thompson.
Here.
Alderman Thompson is present. Alderman Cardenas.
Here.
Alderman Cardenas is present. Alderman Quinn.
Here.
Alderman Quinn is present. Alderman Burke.
Here.
Alderman Burke is present. Alderman Lopez.
The original is here.
Alderman Lopez is present. Alderman Coleman.
Present.
Alderman Coleman is present. Alderman Moore.
Present.
Alderman Moore is present. Alderman Curtis.
Here.
Alderman Curtis is present. Alderman O'Shea.
Here.
Alderman O'Shea is present. Alderman Taylor.
Here.
Alderman Taylor is present. Alderman Brookins.
Here.
From the budget.
Alderman Brookins is present. Alderman Rodriguez.
Present.
Alderman Rodriguez is present. Alderman Tabarez.
Here.
Alderman Tabarez is present. Alderman Scott.
Present.
Alderman Scott is present. Alderman Cicho Lopez.
Present.
Alderman Cicho Lopez is present. Alderman Maldonado.
Here.
Alderman Maldonado is present. Alderman Burnett. Alderman Irvin.
Present.
Alderman Irvin is present. Alderman Talaferro.
Present.
Alderman Talaferro is present. Alderman Raboyes.
Present, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Raboyes is present. Alderman Cardona.
Present.
Alderman Cardona is present. Alderman Wagaspack.
Present.
Alderman Wagaspack is present. Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez.
Presente.
Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez is present. Alderman Austin.
Here.
Alderman Austin is present. Alderman Ramirez Rosa.
Present.
Alderman Ramirez Rosa is present. Alderman Villegas.
Present.
Alderman Villegas is present. Alderman Metz.
Present.
Alderman Metz is present. Alderman Sposato. Alderman Nugent.
Present.
Alderman Nugent is present. Alderman Vasquez.
Present.
Alderman Vasquez is present. Alderman Napolitano.
Present.
Alderman Napolitano is present. Alderman Riley.
Present.
Alderman Riley is present. Alderman Smith.
Present.
Alderman Smith is present. Alderman Tunney.
Present.
Alderman Tunney is present. Alderman Gardner. Alderman Gardner.
Present.
Alderman Gardner is present. Alderman Kappelman.
Present.
Alderman Kappelman is present. Alderman Martin.
Present.
Alderman Martin is present. Alderman Osterman.
Present.
Alderman Osterman is present. Alderman Haddon.
Present.
Alderman Haddon is present. Alderman Silverstein.
Present.
Alderman Silverstein is present. Anyone that I missed?
Alderman Burnett is present.
Alderman Burnett is present. Anyone else I missed?
Did you get Nick Sposato, Madam Clerk? Look,
Alderman
I got
Nick
muted.
Yeah, Alderman Nick Sposato, I have you now present. Anyone
Thank you.
else? Your Honor, we have a quorum present.
There are sufficient numbers present to establish a quorum. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America.
and to the republic
For
which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice and justice for all.
God
Thank
bless
you all. Please
America.
remain standing for the invocation. And the invocation today will be delivered by Pastor Eric Rivera of the Brook Church of Chicago. Pastor, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Mayor Lightfoot, and thank you all for this great opportunity to come. I am the pastor of the Brook Church in the Montclair neighborhood, which is in the 36th ward. And it's my pleasure and privilege to pray with you all on this Thanksgiving week. So would you please bow your heads with me as I pray? Father God, we are here at the beginning of a new week, but we're still surrounded by the challenges of last week, God. We face the hardships and struggles of COVID realities, racial injustices, and political tensions. And on top of all that, we're missing time with loved ones this Thanksgiving. And God, our nation has been devastated and our city confounded. And God, it's just been hard in this 2020. And yet, Lord, I'm reminded of what your word, the Bible says in Philippians 4. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and mind in Christ Jesus. And so rather than being anxious, oh God, we, especially this week, are choosing to be thankful. Thank you for loving us as you unconditionally do. Thank you for Jesus who went to the cross for our sins. Thank you for forgiveness that comes through him. Thank you for family who cares for us. Thank you for friendships that are dear to us. God, thank you for sunshine and autumn breeze and chirping birds and laughter. Thank you for Chicago, this city that we all love. And God, I thank you for this city council. Father, I can't imagine the weight many of them carry on their shoulders these days. And so today, Lord, I just humbly ask that you would bless them. Bless them with strength. Bless them with wisdom. Bless them with vision. And God, I pray for insight. Father, bless these women and men. Bless this meeting. And God, we do ask for your blessing on our city. God, I thank you for hearing our prayers and for loving us the way you do. I pray all this in the matchless name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. Nice job, Pastor.
Thank you,
God
Pastor.
bless America.
Pleasure.
At this time, we will have public comment. Mr. Clerk.
The council will now begin the public comment period, limited to a maximum of 30 minutes. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Any written comments that have been submitted will be posted and made available for aldermanic review. Today's first speaker is Lisa Van Eaton.
This is Lisa Van Eaton. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I'm okay to talk now?
Yes.
Okay. I am calling to give my vote on the proposed budget and recently suspend my vote. I would like City Council to reconsider the proposed budget and vote no. Reasons being mental health crisis, police budget, COVID relief, and taxation. It appears that only $1 million is spent on mental health, which is essentially a small amount, when nearly 5 times as much is being spent on police budget. As for police budget, the funding for the pilot must come from the Chicago Police Department budget. The funding has gone up consistently every year. It will account for 39% of the corporate fund. Also, we already know when armed police officers respond to people in crisis, Black people are shot and killed. We oppose a police-led pilot, and this is non-negotiable. Furthermore, we need more access to COVID testing, including more sites, longer hours of operation, and more tests in general. As a working class Chicagoan, I cannot afford to wait in 2-hour lines every time I need to get tested. And this amount of time spent is already having a reserved slot for a test. I acknowledge that I am fortunate that I have not lost my job due to COVID, but like many others have and many more will in these coming months, I am disheartened to work upwards of 60 hours a week to see that more taxes are being pulled from my paycheck than those who make much more than myself. But with all that said, I would like to end my session, and I thank you for your time, and I hope my words can be remembered.
Thank you, Ms. Van Eaton. Our next speaker is Alexandra Samard.
Good afternoon. My name is Al Samard, and I'm also submitting comment today to urge the City Council to vote no on the current budget proposal for 2021. I find the moral responsibility to be against this budget, as it relies on failed methods of alleviating debt and fights against community resources. It is in no way a progressive nor fiscally responsible budget, and I'm appalled that it is being marketed to the public as such. First, I would like to address the budget's reliance on increasing fees and fines in regards to traffic violations. Mayor Lightfoot, during her campaign, talked about ending Chicago's, quote, addiction to fines and fees, yet this budget feeds that addiction. This budget plans on bringing in $381 million in traffic fines and fees for 2021, up $30 million from last year's allocation. But last year's allocation also fell short $110 million, so it's unreliable revenue. The plan to increase these violations is clever. The administration plans on lowering the speeding infraction limit to 6 miles per hour, just 1 mile above most jurisdictions' margin of error. This proposal would be taking food out of the mouths of working class people of Chicago who are already struggling financially due to COVID-19. The other issue I'd like to address is the non-existent funding for treatment, not trauma. This program would be essential in alleviating the mental health crisis in Chicago. Currently, there is $1 million pledged towards a co-responder program under the Chicago Police Department's portion of the budget, but this is not what the community asked for. Those with mental illness are 16 times more likely to be killed by police, and 1 in 4 people killed by police involve an individual with mental illness. Because of incidents like this, in 2018 alone, the city paid out almost $130 million in settlements, legal fees, and other payouts in regards to police misconduct. Yet mental health facilities are being closed and violent officers remain on payroll. We do not need more police where it concerns mental health. The community has a solution. All treatment, not trauma needs is a $5 million allocation of the budget given under the jurisdiction of the Department of Public Health. To put that number in perspective, that is simply 1 day of the proposed police budget for 2021. 1 day of the police budget turned into a year of fully funded mental health crisis resources seems like a no-brainer, especially so when we consider what the city already pays in police settlements. There are aldermen on the council that not only support treatment, not trauma, but can speak to its implementation, and they should be listened to in a review of this budget. I understand through reporting from the Chicago Tribune that the mayor's administration has made threats to the aldermen and their wards if they do not vote in favor of the proposed budget. Threats that these aldermen will be labeled as unprogressive, that their wards will not be made a priority, and that the much needed welcome city amendments would continue to collect dust. I'm here to say to those aldermen that vote no today that the city of Chicago stands with you as you fight for a truly progressive budget that Chicago can be proud of. Thank you so much. I yield my time.
Thank you, Ms. Samard, for your comments. Our next speaker is Elliot Carl.
Please press *6 to unmute. Elliot Carl.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Elliot Carl. I'm a 4th-generation Chicagoan, a recent master's in public policy graduate from UChicago, a career civil servant and active member of my community. Alderwoman King and Alderwoman Hairston, I live at the corner of Drexel Boulevard and 51st. I hope that you'll hear me. I urge you and your colleagues to vote no on Mayor Lightfoot's budget tomorrow, because it is regressive, because it betrays public trust, because we have an opportunity to do better. 1, it is regressive because it proposes property and gas tax increases during a pandemic and economic crisis, which burdens working families. Why is this solution? Meanwhile, developers continue to control and hoard TIF monies to protect their property values. Meanwhile, untaxed vacancies are allowed to permit it. If this budget is attacking essential workers, families, and me the way it is, I have to ask why. We are in an emergency. This is disgusting. It's regressive. 2, it's a betrayal of public trust as it ignores the guidance that the OMB solicited from the community. In my civil service career, I have designed public engagement opportunities for local governments working to develop their budgets in major West Coast cities. It's both shocking and offensive to me that you would consult us, the community, about how to spend our public resources only to ignore the consistent and clear response you received. 34,000 responses. 87% indicated a desire to reallocate funding from the police department. CPD was identified as the lowest priority in all regions of the city besides the Loop. It is clear as day. Mayor Lightfoot promised to bring in the light, but why does her budget leave us intentionally in the dark? And why would we trust the government in the future if you betray our trust tomorrow? I'm sickened by it. Finally, I urge you to vote no because we can do much better. This budget continues to fund the same broken systems year after year, and 2020 has been a different year. I'm inspired by the leadership of some alderpersons who are proposing that we fund evidence-backed alternatives to public safety. I want to try something new. I am desperate to see some change come from a historic summer of protest and civic engagement. Please be brave. Please honor the bravery of all who've stood up and spoken out. We, the community, have asked for this. I know that Mayor Lightfoot can hear us. I know that Budget Director Park heard 34,000 of us too. And to Alderwoman Hairston, Alderwoman King, and the rest of City Council, I implore you, please listen. Please vote no on this toxic budget. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Carl. Our next speaker is Ebony Freund.
Please press *6 to unmute on your phone.
Hello. Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Evan Freund, a resident of the South Side of Chicago for 48 years, a retired healthcare service executive, and a member of the Rotary Club of Chicago, the world's first service organization. I come as a representative of the Community Renewal Society and the Grassroots Alliance Coalition to appeal to you, the elected leaders of Chicago. I ask you to invest the time and energy to establish ongoing review of police practices and policy that is broadly representative of Chicago residents. Achieving this requires a mutually respectful negotiating posture with the coalitions representing historically disregarded segments of Chicago society. I urge the council to pass the GAPA ordinance to establish a civilian oversight commission and to reestablish equity in Chicago's law enforcement. There are admittedly decades of disregard, impunity, and embedded culture to overcome in establishing trustful interchanges for policy development. As elected representatives, you must understand and confront the fear of repeated exclusion from policy development, particularly by people who have been offended without recourse. This is what a civilian police oversight commission is committed to prevent. Chicago must function as a world-class city with justice for all of its many and diverse populations and with effective law enforcement. Chicago can preserve the managerial flexibility of the mayor and the professional discipline by police required for effective deployment of resources without disregarding the contribution of excluded populations or sacrificing their civil rights. Achieving that will require a dedicated civilian oversight commission that can elevate any and all issues of police practice and policy for public discussion and resolution. I yield my time.
Thank you, Mr. Croyne. Our next speaker is Tyler He. Mr. Heath,
Can you hear
please
me?
press star six. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good afternoon. My name is Tyler. I'm born and raised in the 11th Ward, and I'm a supporter of the Defund CPD campaign. I'm calling to urge City Council to vote no on the proposed budget because this budget does not defund CPD and invest in communities and in our lives. It is unconscionable to me that the global pandemic and a summer of international uprisings against police violence and for Black lives that the mayor of this city is actively refusing to defund CPD and reallocate funding to things that we need. Instead, this budget is filled with progressive taxes on the working class and literal atoms of crumbs for social services and communities. As of now, over 6,000 people have died in Cook County from the COVID-19 pandemic, yet CPD's budget of $1.8 billion for 2020 remains virtually untouched and is basically the same percentage of the city's corporate fund as it was before. Also, as a labor organizer coming from a working class family, I'm also deeply disappointed in the Chicago Federation of Labor for selling out instead of standing with an abolitionist in the city to push to defund CPD. Labor is dying, and this is one reason why. The truth is that this pandemic is going to get worse. More people will lose their homes, more people will lose their jobs, will get sick and die, and more people will suffer, and this budget does absolutely nothing to alleviate that suffering. I commend all the people who are working hard for Chicagoans, but for the others, now is the chance to stand up and actually fight for a better world for Chicagoans, or you can rubber stamp this bully of a mayor and her budget like so many others have done in the past. The choice is in your hands. I also want to put Alderman Thompson on blast because I've called your office, I've tried to set up a meeting with you, and as a constituent, I'm quite disappointed that you haven't responded to my emails or given me a call back at all. I use my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. He. Our next speaker is Bridget Greenfield. Ms. Greenfield, please press star six. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Bridget and I live in Bridgeport. I've been unemployed since November 4th because my temp job for the election ended on election day. I'm worried about how I'll pay rent on December 1st and how I'll continue to pay for my health insurance, which I need for appointments and medication to treat my mental illness. I'm speaking today to urge the members of City Council to vote no on Mayor Lightfoot's proposed budget. I'm from Oak Lawn, which is a southwest suburb. Growing up, I lived in a tight-knit Irish Catholic community and attended Catholic schools my whole life, including Mother Macaulay High School. When I was younger, my Southside Irish community blinded me to the segregation, racism, economic hardship, and police brutality that so many Chicagoans face. However, as I got older, I started to recognize these issues as well as the differences between how people in predominantly white neighborhoods, like Mount Greenwood, are treated compared to people in Black and brown neighborhoods. There has always been a need to address these issues, and the pandemic has made that need glaringly obvious. People are losing their jobs and thus their health insurance and being evicted from their homes. The proposed budget does not help the people who need it the most in this city. In fact, it relies on poor and working class people for revenue instead of taxing the rich. The budget also relies on individuals to pay to bridge the budget deficit through the use of increased tickets from speed cameras. That money should come from somewhere else. The Chicago Police Department's budget is $1.8 billion. Money should be taken from that budget instead of from poor and working class people. As a person with a mental illness, I'd like to know why our city spends 85 times more money on police than mental health services. I'd also like to advocate for Alderwoman Rosanna Rodriguez Sanchez's treatment not trauma proposal, which would create a 24-hour crisis response unit to dispatch trained civilian responders instead of police to mental health related 911 calls. This program would be created by reallocating funding from the Chicago Police Department. The poor and working class people of the city deserve real solutions like the treatment not trauma proposal, not Mayor Lightfoot's proposed budget. So again, I urge you, vote no on her proposed budget tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your
I
comment,
yield.
Ms. Greenfield. Our next speaker is Sarah Youssef.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarah Youssef, and I'm the Associate Director of City and County Policy at Community Renewal Society, a 138-year-old organization that works with people and congregations of faith throughout the Chicagoland area. We are also part of the GAPA Coalition. I'm here as a representative of the communities that CRS serves because we deserve a say in how we are policed. We deserve a say in how we are served and protected, especially when that protection can come at the cost of someone's life, which happens all too frequently. There's a lack of trust between our communities and the police, and that broken relationship was highlighted by the protests of this past summer. This broken trust runs deep and existed well before the murder of George Floyd. It existed before the murder of Laquan McDonald. Yet no ordinance that gives people the power to hold police accountable has been passed. Mayor Lightfoot, this was one of the promises you made to establish civilian oversight. Here we are today, though, with our communities badly in need of police accountability and civilian oversight. The need for police accountability is urgent, and I speak for the multitude of people who are demanding a change. One of these people is a CRS constituent, Terry Clark, who is 64 years old, Black, and lives on the near north side of Chicago. He feels passionately about this issue, and he gave me a statement to read to you now. When I saw the video of Laquan McDonald walking away from the police and then was shot 16 times, I thought, this boy was not a threat. The very first shot brought him down to the ground. What was the need to shoot him down 15 more times? And I think, is it right? Is it right to stop me or kill me because I'm Black or look a certain way? Too many times, police escalate a situation instead of diffuse a situation. In my old neighborhood of East Garfield Park, I have seen people stop guys and automatically assume they're gangbangers. I have seen people who have been stopped and then have had to serve 30 years time. Police accountability is very important in the neighborhood that I live in now on the near north side. The community is very culturally different. The police treat us very differently here. In East Garfield Park, I was stopped twice a week on average. Since living on the near north side for the past 2 years, I have yet to be stopped. How can you separate a community in that way? Police work for us, for our communities, and it is a community's responsibility to hold police accountable. I urge you to take a step towards mending the broken trust between our communities and our police and pass GAPA now. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Youssef. Our next speaker is Caitlin Savato.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, City Council. My name is Caitlin Savato. I'm a 13-year-old activist and organizer. In this city, we have built an establishment where the Black and brown communities become poorer and poorer, and the white communities are given more resources and live in a greater prosperity. This budget is regressive, and it hurts the citizens of this city. The institution of our racist law enforcement has continued to act as a predator towards our Black and brown communities. Our school children are given less resources. Moms and dads aren't being paid livable wages, and along with that comes the struggle for ensured affordable housing and healthcare. And an even larger problem is our environment. But these things are things that you should know. Today, I'm advocating for the folks in our communities, our Black and brown communities, in fact. But it's funny, though, because that is your job, to advocate and lead our communities. But instead, you are pushing for a racist, classist, ableist, pro-capitalist budget. Because big shocker, we have decided to put money and property over human life once again. And I'm starting to believe that is something that some of us enjoy doing in this call. But you know what? I actually know why we are actually pushing for this budget, because it makes white people comfortable. You can say that investing into aspects that actually benefit the citizens of the city costs too much money. But you didn't say that when you decided to overly and obsessively fund the CPD, which is a predator. You didn't say that when you decided to send our kids to school with less resources and teachers who are being underpaid. Talking to this body is like talking to a brick wall, because year after year you watch as our Black and brown communities die. Inglewood, Chatham, Grand Crossing, while Beverly, Mount Greenwood, Lincoln Park continue to thrive. Why? Because those are white neighborhoods. The segregation of this city cannot be hidden. The systemic racism that kills our Black and brown communities will not be hidden. Last week, I joined this conference call and I asked you all to invest into our children. our communities, our mental health. And what did you do? You turned around and you pushed for this incompetent budget. It urges me that I will watch as my brothers and sisters will grow up in conditions where they are as smart as their white counterparts, but they receive less opportunities because of the segregation in racist institutions. Now I question how I, a 13-year-old Black girl, has come to this realization, but you, adults, grown folks who pay bills and taxes, haven't even dared to open your eyes. If this budget follows through, the people of this city will be angry because people have fallen into poverty. Moms and dads are struggling to put food on the table, and we are at a life and death situation. But you all are playing with people's lives. So I urge you to vote no on this malicious budget. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Salvato. Our next speaker is Cindy Greenwood.
Good afternoon. I'm Cindy Greenwood, a member of the Community Renewal Society and a leader in the Grassroots Alliance for Police Accountability, better known as GAPA. Through this work over the last 3 years, I have heard the testimony of scores of people of color who have been mistreated at the hands of Chicago police officers. A Black mother whose 11-year-old son had a gun shoved into his mouth by a policeman looking for the child's older brother. A minister who has been repeatedly slammed to the ground by police while wearing his collar and walking down the street just because he is Black. Young Black men who have had drugs planted on them by the police. We cannot continue to turn a deaf ear to the people's experiences of police brutality in our city. During GAPA town hall meetings, we heard the demand for community input on policing from the people most affected, Black and brown people living on the city's south and west sides. In response, several organizations have worked long and hard to create the GAPA ordinance, which would give the people legitimate input on policing and how police resources are used. The police accountability system in Chicago is broken. Police misconduct is a threat to neighborhoods of color in our city, and police are seldom held accountable. GAPA and the communities we represent have been calling on Mayor Lightfoot to take action for more than a year, yet she has remained unwilling to make serious change. Why do you, the mayor and city council, continue to allow bad policing policy and to protect bad police whose misconduct has cost taxpayers more than $500 million over the last decade? You have a civilian oversight ordinance in front of you that could be the most transformative in the nation. We strongly urge you to pass it now. Give the Community Commission an equal power on policy making. Allow the commission to issue a vote of no confidence in police leadership when necessary. Only then will we be able to move forward to rebuild community trust in policing so we can work together to reduce violence in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Greenwood, for your comments. Our next speaker is Robert Henderson.
Mr. Robert Henderson is not here.
Our next speaker is Ms. Kara Sudor. Ms. Sudor?
Kara Sudor, you're unmuted.
Ms. Sudor?
Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. My name is Tara Shador. Thank you for having me on today. I'm a 7-year-long Bucktown resident, the last 2 years of which has been spent in the 32nd Ward, headed by City Council Finance Chair Scott Wagersbeck. I'm calling today to deliver a statement not only for myself, but on behalf of the entire concerned Chicago community, including growing local independent political organizations such as the 32nd Ward United, of which I am personally involved. Most of all, I am calling to deliver a warning to you, the Chicago City Council, on your proposed budget and to urge you to vote no on this proposal. Mayor Lightfoot's proposed budget not only does not meet the needs of our city in crisis, but is a direct insult to the intelligence of your constituents that you have been elected to serve. Do you think that we don't understand how TIF districts benefit investors while undermining allocations for our own necessary public services? Do you think we really buy your argument that reinstating a head tax on giant corporations such as Amazon and McDonald's will drive them out of Chicago? And do you really believe we haven't noticed that police spending per capita, when adjusted for inflation, has doubled since 1964, while reported levels of crime have remained nearly the same? I'm one of thousands in the city who have been woken up by the devastating effects of this year to the fact that the COVID-19 epidemic has been bad, but the epidemic of racism in this city has been going on for a lot longer and will not be ended with a vaccine. You can try to keep bearing the truth about Laquan McDonald, Homan Square, and the toxicity of our CPD for as long as you'd like, but I am here to tell you that we see it all and we are activating. We are hosting events and we are recruiting your neighbors. Do you think the protests this summer were bad? Was it annoying to have to keep raising the bridges in the loop to keep protesters out of your precious financial district? Did you ever wonder if tomorrow could be the day that CPD lynches another unarmed person of color, catapulting more rioting downtown? I'm calling today to tell you that if you pass this budget as it stands, the problems you encountered this summer with protesters and rioting are only going to get worse. This budget does not address police accountability. This budget does not provide adequate funding for mental health services. And this budget does not meet a desperate need for truly affordable housing. These are the things that you need to be funding to prevent crime. Instead, your budget only offers protection for your investors, corporations, and luxury real estate developers. I'm calling today to beg you to listen to your constituents when they tell you that a $1 million allocation for treatment, not trauma, is just setting them up for failure, and that we don't need the toxicity of CPD culture infiltrating the possibility for its success through a forced co-pilot program. I urge you to revisit the results of the community budget survey and reconsider the damage to the relationship between us, your constituents, and our city council when you ask for our input, only to blatantly disregard it. And finally, I insist that you take a moment to read.
Thank you, Ms. Suter, for your comments. However, your time has expired. Our next speaker is Mr. Thomas Gordon.
Mr. Thomas Gordon is not here.
Our next speaker is Ms. Rachel Zen.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we are able to hear you.
Hi, my name is Rachel Zen. I'm a resident of the First Ward and I'm a graduate student at UIC. I just want to say that my comment comes today from a place of care and concern for every Chicagoan. Last year, 11 aldermen voted against Mayor Lightfoot's inaugural budget, and they had very good reason to do so. But in many ways, the material circumstances in tension with this year's budget are far worse than last year's. And in a survey that's already been cited multiple times during this public comment session that was distributed across the city of Chicago, 87% of respondents expressed an interest in reallocating the police budget. To the aldermen of the city, if you decide to vote yes on this budget, I hope you realize that if there is such a thing as accountability, you are not modeling it here. And speaking of accountability, I also want to ask my fellow Chicagoans to stop and consider if this public comment process is a part of the problem. I'll quote a lifelong Chicagoan who writes about public education in this city and his work I deeply admire. I wonder why it always feels as if some Chicagoans have to fight for everything and others don't. Is this process of public comment harming the Chicagoans who have to show up time and time again if we never actually see true accountability? Ask yourself, as I have tried to do during this budget rollout process, who gets to be blissfully unaware of the city budget year after year? And who has to show up to these public hearings and make the case why they too deserve a dignified life in this city? I'm asking all of us to be lovingly critical of this budget process, and with all due respect to the city employees who make this process possible, recognize how this process continually fails so many of us. Why did I just hear a 13-year-old give public comment? I'm inspired by their activism and their civic engagement, but I also have little faith that this council will earnestly engage with their experiences and their ideas. So to the aldermen who are still on the fence, with respect, I urge you to look past the mayor's stubbornness and bullying. Please vote no tomorrow. Chicagoans deserve so much better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zen, for your comments. Our final speaker is Mr. Sean Duffy.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Good afternoon, members of the City Council and Mayor Lightfoot. My name is Sean. I'm a resident of the First Ward. I'm here to encourage all of you to vote no on proposed 2021 city budget. While Mayor Lightfoot claims that it is not her budget, but a quote, budget for the people, a budget where nearly 40% of the city's operating fund goes towards the police is not a budget for the people. The city's own budget survey showed that 87% of respondents wanted to reallocate funding away from the police. But this budget doesn't do that. And while Mayor Lightfoot talks a lot about how when she hears defund the police, she thinks that means invest in the South and West Sides. While it's true, we do want investment in the South and West Sides, the investment the city is currently making in those neighborhoods is not enough. Whatever program the mayor brags about as being a means to achieving equity, the amount being put forward is always dwarfed by the amount being spent on police. Why? Why does our city, as controlled by the mayor and the city council, not care as much about investing in Black and brown communities as it does in policing them? This budget does not defund the police, but it does raise taxes on the poor. There is, of course, the property tax increase, but there's also a new source of revenue through fines and fees. A yes on this budget is a yes on ticketing drivers who go over 6 miles per hour over the speed limit and who happen to pass one of the city's cameras. Let me know how you plan to sell that to your constituents as a win. It's funny, when the city raises taxes and fines on working people, no one ever worries about how working people will react. Maybe it's because you're all just so used to doing it whenever you feel like. But if anyone ever proposes a tax on the rich, say on LaSalle Street, then you hear from the rich, oh, we'll just take our business elsewhere. And from the mayor and members of the council, you'll hear how we can't do anything that would drive business away. Where is that concern when it comes to our city's declining population? A decline that has primarily hit neighborhoods on the south and west sides of the city. I wonder why people could be leaving. Maybe it's that year after year, there's a new fine to pay for less city services. Maybe it's that every year the rent goes up while wages stay stagnant. That every year there's more police and yet still more violence in our communities. Why is it, members of council and Mayor Lightfoot, that the working class of the city always has to bear the burden of the city, and the rich and powerful never do? Please vote no on this inhumane, unmoral budget. Thank you.
That concludes our public comment. Next, communications, Madam Clerk.
I, City Clerk Anna Valencia, hereby inform the City Council that the following document was filed in my office, amended and reissued Department of Health Order number 2020-9 concerning Phase 4 gradual reopening. I, City Clerk Valencia, also informed the City Council that all those matters which were considered by the City Council at the regular meeting held on November 16, 2020, and were required by statute to be published in book or pamphlet form or in one or more newspapers were published in pamphlet form on November 23, 2020 by being printed in full text and printed pamphlet copies of the Journal of Proceedings of the City Council of the City of Chicago. Your Honor, that concludes mayoral and clerk communications.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next up is committee reports. Committee on Finance, Chairman Wegesbeck.
Thank you, Madam President.
Madam President, reporting for the City Council's Committee on Finance, which met on November 18th, 2020. I will be moving out of order for the purposes of establishing the roll call. So item number 4 is an ordinance amending section 2-32-085 of the Municipal Code of Chicago. It's regarding charitable organizations eligible for contributions from voluntary payroll deduction program, as introduced by Alderman Curtis. This ordinance allows for the addition of the Black Fire Brigade, amongst others, as qualifying organizations under the code. The item was approved by the committee by voice vote, and I believe there are members who wish to speak on this matter. But other than that, I move to concur with the recommendation of the committee by roll call vote.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman LaSpada.
Here. Aye.
Alderman LaSpada votes aye. Alderman Hopkins.
Aye.
Alderman Hopkins votes aye. Alderman Dow.
Aye.
Alderman Dow votes aye. Alderman King. Alderman Hairston.
Aye.
Alderman Harrison votes aye. Alderman Sawyer.
Aye.
Alderman Sawyer votes aye. Alderman Mitchell. Alderman Mitchell votes aye. Alderman Harris.
Aye.
Alderman Harris votes aye. Alderman Beal.
Yep.
Alderman Beal votes aye. Alderman Zalowski Garza.
Aye.
Alderman Zalowski Garza votes aye. Alderman Thompson.
Aye.
Alderman Thompson votes aye. Alderman Cardenas.
Aye.
Alderman Cardenas votes aye. Alderman Quinn.
Aye.
Alderman Quinn votes aye. Alderman Burke.
Aye.
Alderman Burke votes aye. Alderman Lopez.
Aye.
Alderman Lopez votes aye. Alderman Coleman.
Aye.
Alderman Coleman votes aye. Alderman Moore.
Aye.
Alderman Moore votes aye. Alderman Curtis.
Aye.
Alderman Curtis votes aye. Alderman O'Shea.
Aye.
Alderman O'Shea votes aye. Alderman Taylor.
Aye.
Alderman Taylor votes aye. Alderman Brookins.
Aye.
Alderman Brookins votes aye. Alderman Rodriguez.
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez votes aye. Alderman Tabarez.
Aye.
Alderman Tabarez votes aye. Alderman Scott.
Aye.
Alderman Scott votes aye. Alderman Cicho Lopez.
Aye.
Alderman Cicho Lopez votes aye. Alderman Maldonado.
Aye.
Alderman Maldonado votes aye. Alderman Burnett.
Aye.
Alderman Burnett votes aye. Alderman Irvin.
Aye.
Alderman Irvin votes aye. Alderman Talaferro.
Aye.
Alderman Talaferro votes aye. Alderman Raboyes.
Aye.
Alderman Raboyes votes aye. Alderman Cardona.
Aye.
Alderman Cardona votes aye. Alderman Wagaspack.
Aye.
Alderman Wagaspack votes aye. Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez.
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez votes aye. Alderman Austin.
Aye.
Alderman Austin votes aye. Alderman Ramirez Rosa.
Aye.
Alderman Ramirez Rosa votes aye. Alderman Villegas.
Aye.
Alderman Villegas votes aye. Alderman Mitz.
Aye.
Alderman Mitz votes aye. Alderman Sposato.
Dick Sposato votes aye.
Alderman Sposato votes aye. Alderman Nugent.
Aye.
Alderman Nugent votes aye. Alderman Vasquez.
Aye.
Alderman Vasquez votes aye. Alderman Napolitano.
Aye.
Alderman Napolitano votes aye. Alderman Riley.
Aye.
Alderman Riley votes aye. Alderman Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Smith votes aye. Alderman Tunney.
Aye.
Alderman Tunney votes aye. Alderman Gardner.
Aye.
Alderman Gardner votes aye. Alderman Kappelman.
Aye.
Alderman Kappelman votes aye. Alderman Martin.
Aye.
Alderman Martin votes aye. Alderman Osterman.
Aye.
Alderman Osterman votes aye. Alderman Haddon.
Aye.
Alderman Haddon votes aye. Alderman Silverstein.
Aye.
Alderman Silverstein votes aye. Anyone that I missed?
Madam President,
Peter, do the roll call count?
Your Honor, there are 49 yeas, no nays.
Madam President,
Yes, Chairman.
just one correction there as I read that out. This was approved by the committee by the roll call used to establish quorum in that finance committee meeting. Thank you. Just a correction for the record.
Okay. Record so reflects. Alderman Thompson on the motion for reconsideration.
Thank you, Madam President. I motion that we reconsider that last vote.
All those in favor of the motion for reconsideration signify by saying aye. All those opposed say nay.
Oh.
The nays have it. The motion for reconsideration is denied. Chairman Wagasback.
Thank you. Items 5 and 6 consist of authorizations for the payment of various small claims against the city and the denials of payment of various small claims against the city. If there is no objection, I ask that these items be placed on the omnibus.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
And Madam President, Chairwoman Dowell joins me in moving to defer and publish the following items. Number 1 is the ordinance approving the levy of real estate taxes for the city of Chicago for the year 2021 in the amount of $1,632,926,000. Number 2, an ordinance authorizing the city of Chicago to issue general obligation bonds and additional sales tax bonds for various purposes and the levy and collection of direct annual taxes. And number 3, an ordinance authorizing amendments to various sections of the Municipal Code of Chicago, which relate to revenue derived from certain taxes, fines, and fees.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Madam President, this concludes the report of the Committee on Finance.
All right, next up is the Committee on Budget and Government Operations. Chairman Dowell.
Thank you, Madam President, and members of the City Council. Reporting for your Committee on the Budget and Government Operations, which held a meeting on November 19th, 2020. The committee has a series of reports. Item number 1 is an ordinance concerning an allocation of Neighborhood Opportunity Fund grant to North Lawndale Employment Network for the new North Lawndale Employment Network campus at 1111 South Holman in the 24th Ward. I move passage of this item by the first favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance and associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item number 2 is an ordinance introduced by Alderman Samantha Nugent of the 39th Ward, authorizing the donation of a city vehicle to Elderly Housing Development and Operations Corporation. I move passage of this item by the same motion if there is no objection.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item number 3 is an ordinance introduced by Alderman Harry Osterman, 48th Ward, approving the transfer of funds within the Committee on Housing and Real Estate for the year 2020. I move passage of this item by the same motion if there is no objection.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item number 4 is an ordinance concerning the holding of remote administrative hearings. I move passage of this item by the same motion if there is no objection.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item number 5 is the substitute ordinance concerning an amendment to the annual appropriation ordinance year 2020 within Fund 925 for various departments for digital equipment for remote learning for students and vaccinations for and immunizations for young people. I move passage of this item by the same motion if there is no objection.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Madam President, Chairman Wagasback joins me in moving the following to defer and publish the following items. Item number 6, a resolution amending the regulations governing the administration of the classification plan and the employee benefits for classified positions set forth in the annual appropriations ordinance, so-called salary resolution. Item number 7, an ordinance approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Transit Authority and the Cook County for allocation of motor fuel tax funds to the Chicago Transit Authority as year 2021 matching grant pursuant to the Regional Transportation Authority Act. Item number 8, an ordinance concerning expenditure of portions of the motor fuel tax funds allocated to the city of Chicago for the year 2021. Item number 9, an ordinance amending municipal code chapters 2-51, 2-84, 5-12, and 9-103, called the Municipal Code Corrections Ordinance for the year 2021. Items 10 and 11, the 2021 Annual Appropriation Ordinance as amended, and a series of amendments to the 2021 budget recommendations. And item number 12, an ordinance amending municipal code chapters 2-112, 4-4, and 7-32 concerning various department functions and duties and creation of a new city council standing committee, also called the 2021 Management Ordinance.
These items will be deferred.
Thank you, Madam President. This concludes my report.
Next committee, the Joint Committee on License and Consumer Protection. Alderman Mitz.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Members of the City Council, I'm reporting for the Joint Committee on License and Finance. We had a virtual meeting on November the 17th, 2020, and the following item was passed by the committee. Item number S02020-5705, a substitute ordinance regulating the various fees charged to restaurants by third-party food delivery service. Alderman Wagisback, Alderman O'Shea, Alderman Mitz, Hopkins, Lopez, Moore, Rodriguez, Smith, Tabarez, Riley, Dow, Cardonas, Vasquez, Villegas, Spazzato, Silverstein, Roboris, Sawyer, Harrison, Thompson, Coleman, Citro Lopez, Kappelman, Napolitano, and Beal. I move that the City Council concur in the recommendation of the Joint License and Finance Committee and pass this item by the same roll call as item number 1 of the Committee on Finance report and the same unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Are there any members of the body that wish to speak to this matter before I move forward?
Madam President.
Please signify by raising your hand in the chat function. The chair recognizes Alderman Brendan Riley.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to compliment you, Mayor, and Chairman Wagisback, and everyone who put effort into crafting this ordinance. COVID unfortunately exposed what I would consider to be price gouging of restaurants by some third-party app companies. And until we were informed of restaurants being handed invoices for marketing fees they were unaware of, in some cases being listed on these platforms without their knowledge, it was time to act. And so my thanks to the Department of Business Affairs, the Law Department, and others for helping us craft a much better ordinance. I think you'll see this runs in line with the city of New York and Los Angeles. This is an issue in every major city in America. So it's my hope that this will provide some much needed relief to a restaurant industry that was being, I think, in some ways taken advantage of, especially given their heavy reliance now on carry out and delivery to make a very, very modest bottom line work. So I'm very proud to be a co-sponsor of this ordinance. And I thank Chairman Wagisback and you, Mayor, and your team for all the great work that went into this. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Riley. The chair recognizes Alderman Wagisback.
Thank you, Madam President. Just briefly as well, I'll reiterate what Alderman Riley said. It was an extra effort put in by BACP, many of my fellow aldermen who supported this and found ways to find compromise on it and move forward with a good package. I also want to thank the Illinois Restaurant Association and all our other independent restaurants. And due to the support of all the aldermen here, I know that this will pass immediately. We don't have to wait for, 2 to 3 weeks. So hopefully this will really be an effort that helps out our restaurants immediately and keeps a lot of them in business. And a lot of workers still hopefully getting a paycheck. So I appreciate everybody's work on this and thank all my colleagues for signing on. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Wegesbach. The chair recognizes Alderman Austin.
Thank you, Madam President. I too I would like to be associated with this because even though we had a focus on the downtown and some of the north side restaurants, I was glad that it was brought to our attention in regards to the neighborhood restaurants as well that were suffering and maybe suffering the most. So with this, they will be able to prayerfully recover from some of the damage that have been done to them, because it puts some of them out of business in some ways because they can't keep up with the demand because the cost is higher for them per meal. So we're grateful for that. And additionally, Madam President, I didn't hear Chairman Mitch call my name and I attended the meeting. But if she did, please forgive me. But if not, please add me to it. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you, Alderman Austin. The chair recognizes Alderman Lopez. Oh, took his head. Oh.
All right, Madam President. Thank you.
Okay. The chair recognizes Alderman Smith.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I just want to echo what Alderman Riley said and to really congratulate your administration and Scott Wagesbach for identifying this issue some time ago and trying to take steps right away. This city has passed an awful lot of measures that are considered progressive to try to help the employees of the hospitality industry. It imposed some costs, but was designed to try to make jobs better. Well, those jobs won't be any good if there's some third party who is really taking advantage of the situation to really put these in ways that could be fatal to the restaurant industry. So I just want to voice my support and say this is really critical, and another warning about when we fall in love with internet businesses, that they are businesses like everyone else and need to run their businesses fairly, transparently, and not in a monopolistic or overbearing way. So thank you very much, and I'm really grateful for this ordinance and happy to support it.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Alderman Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam President. I stand with all the other colleagues who worked on this legislation, and I'm proud to be a sponsor of it. I do wish we would have gotten it done sooner when we first were introducing it, but I know how challenging it can be sometimes, and I'm glad that we got it done before we really see what winter looks like. It's hard enough for our businesses to try to survive during this pandemic, and when we're seeing corporations that are taking advantage of them, it is our job to act. I look forward to really targeting how they fraudulently use restaurants' intellectual property on their sites, as well as other things, and hope that they take this as a warning and know that we're not going anywhere, because if it saves only one restaurant, it's worth it. So I look forward to seeing this pass, and I thank you and everyone else that was involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Vasquez. I will just take a brief moment to say I want to thank the leadership of Alderman Wegesbach, O'Shea, Tunney, and Mitz, along with others, and the Illinois Restaurant Association. You all know that many sectors of our economy have been badly impacted for the worse as a result of COVID-19, economic downturn, and certainly the restaurant industry has been chief among them. We keep and will continue to keep looking for ways in which to support them. And this is one, I think, important step forward. I will yield and go back to Chairman Mitz. Chairman Mitz, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I just wanted to mention that there were a number of my colleagues who had requested to be a co-sponsor on the resolution, but we did not receive the form. So I don't know if perhaps they can now add their name once again to the resolution if they would like to be recorded. I do remember Alderman Austin, Alderman Burnett, Alderman Irvin. I think it was quite a few of them, and I thought we had most of the council members who had signed on, but I didn't get the form. It could have been an oversight that we didn't get the co-sponsor form.
Madam Clerk, I would direct you to make sure that the co-sponsors of this ordinance are reflected in the legislative record.
Will do.
The chair recognizes Alderman Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to confirm that I was a co-sponsor and that the chairman recognized me as well.
All right, so reflected.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes Alderman Martin.
Same as Alderman Thompson. Thank you.
All right. The chair recognizes Alderman Tunney.
Thank you. Madam President, I was thinking, I think my recollection is right. We're going to do a roll call on this in order to enact it immediately, I believe, anyways. Right?
I believe with the motion put forward by Chairman Mitz that it will be enacted unless there's opposition. So I held that in order to allow the members to be able to speak to it, but it's my expectation that it will be enacted and be effective immediately.
Right. With the 2/3. We need 2/3, right?
Correct.
That's correct.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes Alderman Harris.
Thank you, Madam President. I too wish to be associated with this and wish to be request to be a co-sponsor, and I'll send my form in if it hasn't been sent already. Thank you, Madam President.
The chair recognizes Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to put on record that I was also a co-sponsor of this ordinance very proudly, and that I'm really grateful for the work done to curb all these predatory practices on small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez. The chair recognizes Alderman Dow.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I wasn't sure that I heard my name. I know I sent in the form, but I want to be a co-sponsor, and I thank Alderman Wagisback and others for putting this forward. My restaurants in the South Loop in Bronzeville will benefit tremendously from this new legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Dow. The chair recognizes Alderman Haddon.
Thank you, Madam President. I too stand in support of this and would like to be recognized as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
So reflected. Thank you. The chair recognizes Alderman Gardner.
The same for me, Mayor. If you can put me down for a co-sponsor, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
So reflected, Alderman Gardner. The chair recognizes Alderman Maldonado.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would also like to be recorded as a co-sponsor.
So reflected, Alderman Maldonado. The chair recognizes Alderman La Spada.
Thank you, ma'am. I just also would love to be recognized and added as a co-sponsor. And my great thanks to Alderman Riley for his strong leadership on this work. It's going to give a lot of benefit to the independent restaurants in my ward. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman La Spada. The chair recognizes Alderman Siccho Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President. And the same for me. I would like to be recognized as a sponsor, and also recognizing the leadership of Alderman Riley to support our small businesses. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Alderman Sigcho Lopez. The chair recognizes Alderman Michael Scott.
Thank you, Madam President. I too would like to be recorded as a co-sponsor.
Thank you, Alderman Scott. Chair recognizes Alderman Mitchell.
I too want to recognize the co-sponsor. I actually thought that we stated in the meeting that all would be included as a co-sponsor, and those that did not want to be included will speak out. That's what I left understanding.
Okay. All right, thank you, Alderman Mitchell. And the chair recognizes Alderman Silverstein.
Thank you, Madam President. I too had asked to be associated with this and would like to be a co-sponsor.
Thank you, Alderman Silverstein. The chair recognizes Alderman Nugent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam President, I too would like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Nugent. Our parliamentarian reminds me that there's a form that you must submit and get into the clerk's office. And if you do that before the end of the day, those who submit it will be recognized as co-sponsors of this matter. Madam Clerk,
And Mayor,
is that correct?
Yes, and Mayor, we actually do have many of these already on file. And I know people that are repeating, Chairman Mitz did mention your names at the beginning and I heard them. So you might have just missed your name being called, but we'll double check and triple check, but everyone should be on there.
All right, there's a pending motion, which is to pass this ordinance by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance and the associated unsuccessful motion for reconsideration. As you'll recall, that first motion by Finance was supported 49-0, which certainly qualifies as our 2/3. So with that motion and seeing no objection, so ordered.
That concludes my report, Madam President.
Thank you. Next is the agreed calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. I received from the City Council, Andrea M. Valencia, a total of 99 items proposed for the agenda, the agreed calendar, consisting of congratulatory, commemorative, tributary resolutions from the following aldermen: Alderman Patrick Thompson, Alderman Curtis, Alderman O'Shea, Alderman Raboris, Alderman Villegas, Alderman Nugent, and Alderman Riley. I move the agreed calendar in the omnibus. Thank you.
Objection, so ordered. Next is new business. Madam Clerk, please call the roll, beginning with the 50th.
Claims, free permits, license fee exemptions, which are referred to the Committee on Finance. Zoning amendments, which are referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Traffic regulations, traffic control signals, and traffic signs, which are referred to the Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety. Grants of privilege on and over the public way, which are referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. And exemptions from physical barrier requirement for commercial driveway alley access to parking facilities, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Tunney has a proposed ordinance for transfer of funds within the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards for the year 2020, which is referred to the Committee on the Budget and Government Operations. Alderman Irvin has a proposed order for historical landmark fee waiver for the property at 1035 South Claremont Avenue, which is referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman Sigcho Lopez has a proposed ordinance for termination of Central West Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Area, which is referred to the Committee on Finance. Alderman Burke and Alderman Lopez have a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Title 7, by adding a new Chapter 7-60 entitled Daily Cleaning of Public Accommodations Ordinance, referred to the Committee on Workforce Development. Alderman Burke and Alderman Lopez also have a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Titles 2 and 1, by modifying Sections 2-160-090 and adding a new Chapter 1-26 entitled Hotel Worker Right to Return to Work Ordinance, which is referred to the Committee on Workforce Development. Alderman Thompson has a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Title 3, by adding a new Chapter 3-46A entitled Chicago Ground Delivery Tax Ordinance, which is referred to the Committee on Finance, and a proposed order for the issuance of permits for signboards at 645 West Roosevelt Road, which is referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Your Honor, that concludes the aldermanic introductions.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next is new business. I'm sorry. Next is approval of the journal. Alderman Mitchell.
Madam President, I am not aware of any corrections to the journal and move to approve by the same roll call vote as was applied to determine quorum.
So hearing no objections, so ordered. Next is unfinished business. Alderman Mitchell.
Madam President, I'm not aware of any unfinished business.
Next is miscellaneous business. Alderman Mitchell.
I am not aware of any miscellaneous business.
Date and time of the next meeting.
I provided an ordinance to the clerk setting the date and time of the next meeting of the City Council for Tuesday, November 24th, 2020 at 10 a.m.
Madam Clerk, please read the ordinance.
Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Chicago, Section 1, because an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent due to COVID-19, the next regular meeting of the City Council, in accordance with applicable law, shall be conducted by video conference on Tuesday, November 24, 2020, beginning at 10 a.m., and shall provide for remote participation or remote viewing by members of the public. Section 2, the ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage. Signed, Greg Mitchell, Alderman, 7th Ward.
Madam President, I move passage in the omnibus.
Hearing no objections, so ordered. Let's move to the omnibus. Alderman Mitchell.
I move that matters in the omnibus be passed by the same roll call vote as was used to determine quorum.
Hearing no objections, so ordered. Alderman Thompson on the motion to reconsider.
Yes, Madam President, I motion that we reconsider that each and every of the last vote.
All those in favor of the motion for reconsideration signify by saying aye. All those opposed say nay.
Nay. No.
The motion
Nay,
for
never.
reconsideration is denied. The motion fails. Alderman Mitchell on adjournment.
Madam President, there being no further business before the body, I move that we adjourn by the same roll call vote that was applied to determine quorum.
Hearing no objections, so ordered. This city council meeting is adjourned. We will see you all tomorrow